What do you get when you mix a health coach and a wellness coach mixed with a lot of curiosity? You get two people who ask a lot of questions about health and wellness. Today we ask, how do you make sure to take care of yourself when you are taking care of someone else?
Sometimes in life, the person you love gets sick and you have to step up and take care of them. But how do you make sure to take care of yourself when you are overloaded? Let's get started as we ask.
Wait, what? So while I was reading the intro and then you were reading the intro, I thought of other situations with people who have to take care of their children that are special
Oh,
needs.
yeah, right. Right.
You know, that is something
Right.
too. That's a caregiver role too. I just thought of that while you were talking. But anyway, sorry. Hi, Kamna.
Hi. I am excited to introduce our guest. So, when was the last time someone celebrated your healthy lifestyle efforts? Nancy White, the Healthy Cells Chick, is dedicated to helping individuals thrive physically and financially through her business. Driven by a passion for preventative living, she assists health conscious adults in creating natural, sustainable lifestyles that can adjust as they age. With over 30 years of research and training, Nancy helps entrepreneurs scale or diversify their income streams to enhance their physical and financial health. Her books, including the Amazon bestseller, The GRT Journal, offer insights into personal growth. Nancy has collaborated on works like Light at the End of the Funnel, Radical Self Love, and Making Peace with Your Pieces. Since 2007, she has been making a positive impact through the Healthy Cells Chick, sharing her expertise on social media, hosting a TV show on Win Win Women TV, and nurturing a supportive community. Welcome, Nancy.
Oh,
Wow, what a resume, Nancy.
and that's the short one, Leah.
I love it. I don't even know where to start.
Mm.
Kamna,
Well,
go ahead.
sorry, go ahead. Tell us a little bit about you and what you do before we jump into our questions about the topic.
Your interrogation. Yes. So I was born and raised. I was born and raised in Charlotte, North Carolina, and in a time where your mom would just say, "Go play at the park for an hour," and you go run and play at the park, and then you come home and you go, "Oh, I bet it's been an hour." So I had three brothers growing up, and I was the only girl, and I used to always tell them, "You're not the boss of me." But anyways, so it's been a really amazing journey. 72 years and still living in the same place. I've traveled around the world, but I've never moved from here. And so I'm just am always been lifelong learner, will continue to be. And I worked for the government as a researcher in personnel, and they kicked me out.
Wow.
Corporate America kicked me out 40 years ago. So I've been on this entrepreneurial journey ever since. So again, we've never been this age before, and we are always going to keep on doing our best. And I say, and God will do the
Very
rest.
true.
But, and I also said, I'll never write a book. You never tell the Lord you don't want to do something. You're going, okay, your way or no way. We're going to go here. So, anyways,
Okay,
but
wait. You said you've never read a book and you've written four or three or four?
so you don't say never. Don't say never. So anyways, but it's been great. I mean, I have loved women training and nurturing and leading networking groups for over 20 years. And I love helping women so much because, again, I had three brothers, and so I love having new sisters. And it's amazing to have women collaborate and connect and just to support each other. It's
Yes.
huge, especially when we all go through different trials and tribulations. We're here to support and encourage and cheer each other on.
What is your birth order?
I am the third, next to youngest.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Mhm.
I think it says a lot about personality, where you were born and what order. So I think that's interesting. And you're such a go-getter. It's kind of surprising.
Well, I was always shy and quiet growing up. And then I learned that, you know what? I love people and I love to talk. And I can remember one time my daughter was in college and we were at the workout room, and there was these cute college guys that came in, and I'm just talking with them and everything. And she said, "Mom, I can't believe you'll talk to everybody." I said, "Well, I'm not a cougar. I just like people."
How fun.
Mhm.
All
I
right. Go ahead. Well, I wanted to ask real quick because you said you work with a lot of women, and I feel like sometimes women working together get a bad rap. Did you ever get the whole, to put it bluntly, like the bitchiness and the cattiness and the like,
Absolutely.
and that's got to be a tough navigation too, as
It
well,
is.
right?
Because women get their feelings hurt really easily
Yeah.
and rejected, and they feel like, especially in the earlier years, networking over 20 something years ago, if I'm in health and wellness and somebody else came in and they're in health and wellness and it may be a different company they're representing or whatever. Oh, I'm not going to say anything about the MK people, but very territorial. And so, but you learned about relationships, and that's something, these other people are going to weed themselves out of your life if they don't think they're getting what they should be getting or what they deserve. So when you get to the point, Leah, where you're going, you know what, you don't have ulterior motives, you don't have false intentions, you don't have something that, oh, I'm going to do this if you do this, and we hear a lot too about, people that are referral partners. And I think we should just be open and honest. And if there's somebody that I feel like you need to meet, I'm going to introduce you, or I'm going to send a resource or something for you, because again, I believe in abundance. There is more than enough for all of us to be able to succeed.
Right.
I like that you call it a referral partner. So meaning, somebody you meet somebody and you're like, oh my gosh, Comno would be great for like that kind of referral business. Is that what you're referring to?
It is, and it is, and finding other avenues for women to make new connections. Because I mean, we speak 2,500 more words a day than men anyway, so we need more women to talk to.
But I am really curious about the name of your show and what it is. Are you on TV or where can somebody watch it?
It is. It's on the platform Win Women TV, and the platform itself was established by Paula Fellingham, and she's been helping women for 100, well, for in 150 countries, but for over 30 years, over 3 decades. And she had a desire that she wanted to have a 24/7 evergreen platform that 4 billion women and men, if they want to come, could tap into anytime, day or night, to become educated, inspired, and encouraged. And so we have our own shows. Mine is the Healthy Cells Chicken. It's CELLS, because I believe that if you have happy, healthy cells, you have happy glands, happy organs, and a happy body. And our body regenerates every 8 years or so. So, we're always in that reconstructive period. But my show is all about nurturing the mind, the body, and the spirit. And everything we do positively or negatively affects our mind, our body, and our spirit. And you ladies know, even at such young ages, that we're being bombarded every single day, and we have to learn how to combat. We have to learn how to fight back. And so that's exactly what you two ladies are doing, in your businesses, where
Mhm.
you're helping, equipping, and educating, and just, encouraging women, especially, to become the very best that they can be. And again, without comparing to somebody else. Fastest way to discouragement. Oh, she looks really good in that outfit. I wouldn't look
Mhm.
good in that outfit. So,
Can I just go backwards for 1 minute? You said,
sure.
but we are bombarded every day and we need to equip ourselves. What does that mean specifically?
Okay. We're exposed to so many different things, especially our precious children too, that are coming up. All the social media, all the different things. Well, we even talk about the invisible things, the electronic waves, the things that have increased
Mhm.
like crazy over the years. So there's a lot of things that we don't see. And I'm not going to get too deep in the weeds, but we've been guinea pigs in this country for years, as far as foods, as far as medications, as far as different things that we need to be asking about and need to be digging deeper. Um, so the things that we don't see, it's just like, even like the impurities and toxins, the water we drink, the things that we're exposed to that we have no control over. So keeping ourselves, our immune systems built up is huge. but keeping this computer tuned up is even huger. So everything starts in the mind before it gets into our heart and before we take action. So when I talk about being bombarded, it could be physical, it could be, energetic, it can be all kinds of things, just like, being in the health field.
Yes. I think it's really fascinating the way that you just put it. I mean, there is a lot coming at us, whether it's our emotional, mental stuff, or whether it's things in our environment or what we're consuming visually or, physically eating. It's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's overwhelming, actually, if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And
I've
so much
never
to keep track
I've
of.
never thought of it in all of that aspect.
Yeah.
I've thought of each aspect individual, but I've never put it all like as like a whole. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
hmm
So, yeah, it's very fascinating to me.
So, when we spoke earlier, you had talked a little bit about being a caregiver, and I would really like to do a deep dive into that, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about your situation and how that came to be.
So about 2.5 years ago, my husband started having some wild hallucinations, started having falls, started having some things that were going on. And we started seeing and noticing some things even months before that. But even after his diagnosis, he was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia. He was in the hospital for 11 days. And, after that time, they just said, go home now. And I'm sort of going, and what are we doing when we're going home? And so anyway,
Yeah.
we were on the medication test trials and see what works, what doesn't work, and all these kinds of things. And so just being just sort of thrown into the deep end, I, as a researcher, started researching, the disease, started researching what's going to take, because I love prevention and being proactive. And so finding out the different things that, was going to be coming down the road, and, timetables, everybody's so vague about what it is for timetables as far as longevity and different things. But
So wait, you literally like it was a shock. You weren't expecting that?
nope, had no clue. And so,
Wow.
because I'd never been around anybody with dementia before, Leah, and just
So
never,
so hindsight, do you after doing all of your research, did you see some signs that you had missed maybe?
well, since 2020, and he had an engineering business, he's an electrical engineer. And he, 2020 came along, and all of a sudden, business was gone, no
Yeah,
hobbies, nothing. And all of a sudden, came to a screeching halt. But he had been on different medications, and I have my own opinion about
right.
different medications that he was on and chose to be on, that can cause can lead to dementia. And
Oh,
so as far as not seeing, I could start seeing some changes, but some of it was, well, he's not working anymore. And
right.
but then as I went back and researched and looked at some things that he was doing, I could, for example, I would look at the checkbook for the 3 months prior. He would write things in it, then scribble it all out, and then rewrite it again, whatever. So
Oh,
there was things that he was doing, but I didn't see it because we both had our own separate bills and checks and stuff like that. So
right.
I didn't get to see that part, but I did start seeing, some more of the little bit of confusion and things that were going down the pike. But again, then we started into the doctors, the specialists, the psychiatric, the neurologists, all the different people, the MRIs that were being taken, the explanations and those types of things. So it was very overwhelming.
So
Um,
were you in charge of all scheduling and the doctors and the
Still am.
keeping?
Still am. So
Mhm.
I'm really pretty much a living widow, and I'm running everything, for business, for house, for taxes, for investments, for medical, for families, for social, so it's like, it's like having a toddler going backwards.
Mm. And I'm sure it's harder because with a toddler, they're going to grow up and become independent. But with someone who has dementia, I'm sure, I don't know, I'm
It's the
assuming that it's
opposite. It's the opposite.
right.
They're deteriorating into a time where they're going to be, you know, it just depends on everybody's different, but pretty much just a body with the mind that's not working anymore, not able to function. And for this particular, and it's an ugly disease, most people pass away from either choking, aspirating,
Oh,
problem with the heart, or something else, or a fall, because they do have a lot of that. So it's not the disease that takes them out.
do you have help?
My daughters and her husband are one of the best advocates that I have. As far as other family members, no. But I've got some great neighbors. And then also I'm part of an incredible caregiver community. And we support each other and find resources to help. You do have to pay for caregiving unless you've got somebody from church or somebody that's going to volunteer to come sit with them, because, you know, who would ever have thought it'd be a luxury to go grocery shopping all by yourself? And
Oh,
so, don't take things for granted, because you can't leave. You can't do anything without making sure that there's care. And it's one of the most expensive diseases, because it's about $30 an hour to have somebody come in, and most companies require at least a minimum of 3 hours. And then it is something that, if they go into a memory care facility in this state, it's about $9,000 a month.
oh, wow. Wow.
Mm-hmm. So that's one of the things with caregiving, is that people that, have businesses. I work my business in my pockets of time and me time. And I've worked from home for 40 years. So, but making sure that his needs are met, he's taken care of, get him, to a place. And then sometimes I do have somebody come and stay with him, like during my TV show, or just whenever. But it's like, you go with the flow, and you make sure your self-care is a priority, and you take care of that. Just like for myself, I make sure that I have my devotions, my quiet time. I have my jet fuel nutrition, because at 72, I want to continue to age. I just don't want to get old. And I want my longevity to be the same as my health longevity, to be right beside. And most people in this country, they usually lose their health longevity about 10 years before they die. And so, and then I have my exercise, and it's huge. You have to move it or lose it anyways. But so that self-care is a priority for all caregivers. And sometimes you just have to do it in the pockets of your time, and do 10 minutes here. Because even if you exercise 30 minutes 5 times a week, you can increase your longevity by 5 years.
Wow.
And another sad statistic is that most caregivers, or not most, 40% of caregivers die before the person they're caring for. And I keep waking up every day, put my feet on the ground. I go, yay, I'm back. What do we get to do today? And I'm in the 60%.
Wow.
So
I love what you said about self-care though, but I think you have made it a priority, but I'm sure for other people, it must just be so overwhelming. They're like, if I have time, I'm sitting, I'm having a
Right.
cup of coffee and
I'm
doing
gonna sit
nothing.
here and play on my game, or I'm gonna get sucked into social media for 15 minutes, or like I think that you're right, Kamna. Like I think I just want to do nothing right now.
and I feel that way some days too,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to like exercise. And I use a lot of YouTube videos and a lot of exercise things that I get to do at home. But I like me and I love me and I want to be around. And so that's more important sometimes, on making those good, better, best choices. But doing our best. And if our best is just being able to sit just for a little bit, or, take a bubble bath and put a candle on and put some music on, you got to bathe anyways. And so doing something kind to yourself, I think it has to become a priority, because if you get worn down, if you get sick, if you get injured, and believe me, I went through rotator cuff repair surgery this past summer because I tore my rotator cuff taking care of my husband, and now if he falls, he falls. And so, but you have to, I guess, love and like yourself enough to do something. But then finding the support group too, Leah, I think is really important to be able to call somebody and go, I just need to just blurb today without any judgment, without any fixing it, with whatever. It's just like I found grapes in a bag of chips the other day. I went, this is great.
Yeah.
So, but you have to, I think it just down the road, like you're saying, if you're so worn out, and sleep is huge, because there were 7 months that I didn't get a night of sleep because he would wander around and do stuff. And so I found ways that for him to be able to sleep better, and then I had to do some things with cortisol management, with some melatonin, with some things that I had to do to help my sleep. It's an oxymoron, because for years I told women, I said, if you wake up between 1 and 4, it's stress. Well, guess what? When you wake up between 1 and 4 and your brain starts going and you can't, shut things off, you have to be able to find ways to be able to manage that and to get that under control, because that's when, again, those cortisol levels have to level back out. And that's our time of recovery.
I would like to go back to in the beginning, and I don't want to harp on this. I just want to find out what your motivation, inspiration was to make the change, because I think that could help people if they hear it. That in the beginning, you got the diagnosis and you're trying to understand what you're facing, and probably your husband was kind of helpful, but maybe not. And then, so you were shouldering most of the burden, and you're trying to go to this doctor and trying to go to that doctor and maybe a therapist and this, and you're managing all of that. How did you start incorporating self-care into your routine?
Or
Well,
maybe you didn't at first.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I've been keeping my self-care is a priority before this too.
Okay.
And it became more important and more of a priority, because emotional stress takes a physical toll on your body. And I never realized how much
Yeah.
until this came about. And so, but as far as being a priority, it's just, you have to choose, and you have to do your best. It's not perfect. You're working towards, and you're always, evolving. It's just like as you age, I'm not a gym rat like I was 50 years ago when I worked out with Arnold Schwarzenegger when he came to town. But you have to do something every once in a while to move it or lose it. So you have to know that it's a priority because you want to make it a priority. And yes, so I've heard this said about not different people, that dementia brings out more of what you are really like, your personality. And my husband has been Eeyore. And so if you know who Eeyore is, comment. You may not, because you don't watch TV. But so, it's the negative. It was the negative personality type. And for years, for over 2 years, he's been really mad at God for not healing him. But also he's let that relationship go away. And so, it hadn't been a priority. And to me, that this is my just opinion. We go through life and we go through trials and tribulations and things, but I'm going to continually hold on to the Lord, because he is my strength. He's the only reason that I wake up, and the only reason my heart is beating, in my opinion. And so I think everybody has to have something spiritual, because we talk about nourishing the mind, the body, and the spirit. And that spirit has a huge impact in our lives. And so if we don't continually feed and nourish that relationship, whatever that one is for you, then you're going to tell. One of those areas are going to start raising their ugly hand going, you forgot about me. What about me? And so we have to do continually. We're amazing miracles, but still, we have a responsibility.
So you're talking about the self-care and spirituality as pieces that you use of your life to help you manage your stress and manage your health and emotions. The first thing that came into my mind when you were talking about this, especially if you described him as an Eeyore, is if you're dealing with a person who's healthy, who's negative, it's already a little bit irritating.
Mhm.
But if it's a person who doesn't know what they're doing anymore, and there are times when you lose patience yourself, how how are you dealing with that piece that sometimes I'm sure he gets frustrated at you, and you're trying to navigate and be patient and be kind. How do you
Mhm.
manage?
I've learned a great couple of words. Oh, well, instead of, oh, hell, oh, well,
Mhm.
and so we just are just, what does it matter? And, does it really matter? And then I've learned big time to pick battles because there's really no more battling, but I'm still feisty enough to battle sometimes, especially after a long day, 12 hours, and I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done. You
Yeah.
want to sleep in your clothes? Fine. You don't want to brush your teeth? Fine. Just, oh well. And so I think picking those battles is great. But then there's those days too that I just go, okay, Lord, this is a day I'm going to crawl up in your arms. You're going to carry me because I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, just you have to have those times. You go, and then somebody always comes in. You want to go to lunch, you want to go do something, you want to just go to have a massage, you want to go do something that's just girly, you want to do things like that. So that's why you have other people. You don't want to isolate yourself. And I reach out. I had a friend that just had heart surgery the other day, and I made a big pot of chicken soup on Saturday and took over some soup on Sunday. When you do those things for somebody else, it gets the focus off of you and what you're doing. And so I think there's a lot of ways that, when we're feeling certain ways, we do some other things. And I've got a whole list of them.
Well, what I like that you broke it down into, we have to like self care for your. First of all, let me back up and tell you that I don't do any self care. I'm very guilty of it. I know. I've told Kamna that in the month of February, that's how far in advance I'm planning on doing my own self care is in February. Um, so I'm really bad at this topic. But I like that you broke it down as like you have to do self care for your mind, your body, and your spirit. And you said you have like ideas for them?
Oh, oh, sure.
Like
Because,
what like give me an example of what I could do for my mind.
okay, so if you're overthinking a lot and just
Okay.
you can write some things down in a journal, because when you write it
Yeah, I
down,
do.
it gets out of your brain. And
Okay.
so, and anytime we write down things, we're 80% more likely to have it come to pass. And so it's
Okay.
great having that down, when you're or just coming across something, if you're feeling, anxious, you start feeling it coming up from your gut, like women just know it starts growing. You just have to stop and breathe. And some people call it box breathing. Some people call it, the five senses. Just stop. Just stop for a moment. Because as soon as you break the pattern, then you're going to start feeling the anxiety release. And women talk to themselves all the time, anyways, Leah. So we
Yeah.
ask ourselves, is this something I'm responsible for? That's a
Mm.
yes or a no. Anytime you ask a question, the brain's going to answer it, whether we verbally answer it or not. And if it's something I'm responsible for and I need some guidance and help, then I need to ask. I need to ask. So if it's something that's happening in your life or a real relationship or whatever, and if it's something we have no control about, or I could say none of your business, if it's nothing we have no control about, then that's when you BNR, bless and release it. And if you have a struggle with that, I've got lots of fun things that can help you to do, including with rocks, but we don't talk about that later. But you can do things to, again, release those things. As far as what goes past our mouths, I've stayed 6 sizes down for 17 years. I'll quote, never diet again. But I know what my healthy lifestyle is for myself. And if I want to have a treat, or I found a great Italian bakery the other day. Oh my gosh. Had my very first piece of lemon tiramisu. It was awesome. But
Oh my gosh.
I
but
kind of
anyways,
make that.
That sounds amazing.
so, but yeah, I asked myself, so where do you want to put this on your body? And what are you going to do? Because it's always what we say yes to, we're saying no to something else. What we're saying no to, we're saying yes to something else. But you know what? Being that feisty little girl, I'm the boss of me. You are the boss of you. And you get to pick and choose the things that you want to do to exercise. I don't like doing the same thing all the time. I do like working out with weights or hand weights, and I do like doing, some fun different cardios. And I've found different places on YouTube that a couple of groups that I like, and 15, 20, 30 minutes tops.
Mhm.
So because you feel so much better after you do exercise, and it's good for so many different things. But anyways, another fun thing, Leah, if you dance, you're 80% less likely to have dementia. So if you've got music going and you just dance, and that can be your exercise, it can be a combination of fun things that you do. So, those times you've got an amazing partner. If you feel so overwhelmed, you just call and just say, can we just talk for 5, 10, whatever it is, 5 minutes, put your timer on, and just, and you help each other. When you're overwhelmed, you need to let somebody else have the throw up. It's like,
Yeah.
just so you're
Yeah.
not, women stuff. We stuff our emotions. That's why I love Happy Baby with yoga. It's a great way to get your emotions out of your hips and thighs.
I love that one too. It's one of
Oh
my
my gosh.
favorites.
Me too, Leah. Me too. And so then sometimes, when you feel unmotivated, then you get to just have some small little steps. Do some things that reflect back on your wins. Women, we're all guilty of it. We get something done and we're off to the next thing. I'm going, whoa, stop, breathe, pat yourself on the back and say, you know what? You did a good job. You got the dishes out of the sink today. Your kids are still alive, whatever it is. You get to celebrate the small wins. I think we just need to celebrate and just acknowledge and be grateful. That's another area that, for us in self-care is to have that grateful heart. And to me, being grateful is a state of being. It's a state of your heart being. Being thankful is, for things that you're thankful for, whether it's people, things, or whatever. But I think keeping that grateful heart is huge as far as your self-care. And again, some people care, some people don't, but we can't care for other people. They have to care enough for themselves. You can cheer each other on. You can believe that you want what's best for somebody else. But at the end of the day, they're responsible. And I've learned that lesson with my adult children because we raise them up, the best way we can, and to have that spirit of excellence and everything. And then as they get to be young adults and they have the privilege and the honor of making their own choices, even if we don't agree, we can share, something, and then we can zip it because they got 2 ears and they heard. But you'll love it. You both are very young. When your children, as the young adults, come and ask you your opinion, you're going, oh, would you like some wisdom, knowledge, and understanding with that?
Do you ever have days, and I doubt this is true for you because you just seem so positive, but do you ever have days where you feel sorry for yourself?
I have days when I look back over my life. In fact, my daughter pointed this out to me. She goes, Mom, you really had a sucky life. I went, well, great. Because I've gone through, my first husband died instantly with a broken neck on a motorcycle wreck.
Oh
And he
my
was my high school
gosh.
sweetheart. I've had a lot of death in my life. And my father died when I was 9. My oldest brother, John, died at 22. My father of my children, we knew each other 6 months. We met at church and were married, and we went through a divorce. He used drugs, he did all kinds of stuff and whatever. So, and then my current husband and I have been married 30 years, and we met at church. And my daughter was so funny. Kamala, she goes, her husband asked her, goes, you think your mom would ever get married again? And she immediately went, no, no way. But you know what? As far as feeling sorry for myself, I feel very thankful that I have lived to tell because of all the
Oh,
different things that I've gone through and the choices that I've made that I would not make again if I had known. But you
well,
know,
yeah.
we have to forgive ourselves too because we're human, and you know, just because you're a believer doesn't mean you're perfect. We're just forgiven many
Wait,
times over.
you
And so
I do wanna go back to that because you called it a BNR, bless and release. What does that mean?
okay. Yeah, I'll give you a great example.
Okay.
So my mom was 96 when she moved home to be with the Lord. She lived with my youngest brother for a year or so, and he took advantage of her finances and took advantage of her, having her sign for his house and all kinds of things. We didn't find this out until after she had died. So then the anger, the resentment, all that stuff that just, kept welling up, welling up. And every day I would say, Lord, I forgive them. Don't need to fellowship with them. Not going to. Um, but every single day I would just, keep going over that. And then that one day I just woke up and it was gone. It was gone. And so that's a long, extended thing. But for example, another example. So my ex-husband sued me for custody of my children when we were going through a divorce. And that hit me out of this left field. So I had to decide if I was going to forgive, because forgiveness is like acid in a bottle.
Okay.
It's on the inside. The only thing that it does is it just eats the inside. That's what unforgiveness does for us. It just eats at us all the time. Other people don't care. They're not being bothered by it. So we have to make that decision to forgive and to bless and release. So that's just saying, you know what? You're not going to have control over me. You're not going to have control over my emotions. So I'm going to just bless you and I'm going to let go of it. And anytime we make a release, we have to receive something. We can't have a void. So we get to choose what we're going to have that refilling. Some people say it, through the power of the Holy Spirit to refill that way. Some people say, I'm going to do deeds of kindness. I'm going to do different things for other people to fill up what I have just released, because we can't have voids in our life. And so, and what we feed grows. You want to
Hmm.
feed your anger, you want to
Yeah.
feed your anxiety, you want to feed, unforgiveness. I'm sitting there going, no, because I like life and I enjoy relationships. Clint Eastwood had a great quote a couple of months ago, Leah. He said, you know what? His definition of luxury was relationships and friends and family. And he's also talking about how sometimes friends are even closer and more dear than family. And that's all right. You know, um, life is very short. And I guess the more years we have behind us, you
Mhm.
realize, how precious life is, because we're not guaranteed tomorrow. And you were talking about also caregivers for children. I
Mhm.
was reading a book the other day, and it was talking about this mom that had been caregiving for her daughter for 30 years. The daughter was
Oh,
born with a lot of disease and a lot of just challenges. And I cannot remember how many surgeries she had had or whatever. And the woman, she said, I know it's selfish, but I just wish that she would die. And there's a lot of times caregivers go through situations and they see that person struggling. Even for my husband, there's times he goes, I just want to go home. I just want to go to heaven. I just want to leave. And I can understand, um, because, you know, when you're in those positions and just like you're saying, day after day after day after day after day after, it does. It just wears on you, but you have to find ways again to come back, to renew, rejuvenate, as long as we're still here. And, that's why I think a lot of caregivers die, is that they're done.
They are exhausted.
Mhm.
They're just mentally exhausted. They're the three parts, the mind, body, and spirit. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think you're right.
You were talking about the caregiver community. Can you talk a little bit about that as a
Yes, and I
resource?
think it is. And I think people should just delve into even more going through social services in their cities and their states, even finding places virtually. There are, like, here we got Central Line of Council on Aging. We've got different places, you can go to Alzheimer's, you can go to dementia places, and you can find resources to be able to tap into. And there's a lot. You have to ask. Remember, women don't like to ask a lot,
Mhm.
but you ask other people. You ask people that, you go to a support group, and there's all kinds of people in support groups. I mean, there's people that are caregivers, there's people that have services, there's people that own you know agencies. So you keep asking, but social services is a great place to start to find out some things to have help with. um, and so I think it's really important, to start there and then ask who else, where else. I'm getting ready to do another training in February for caregivers. And I went through one last year and had a big book and, we did it virtually, and there's great information and I like reading, and I like finding out, like watching, videos and
Mhm.
podcasts, different things. So I think being a lifelong learner is huge, to have that mindset of going, everybody is unique, everybody's different, but there are things that you need to know about, you need to be prepared for, and finding out those resources to help.
Were there any surprises for you in this part of your journey?
The whole thing's been a surprise.
Yes,
I mean, I
that's
thought
true.
I'd be cruising. I thought I'd be going on, at this point in the time of my life. I mean, I've already been on 8 cruises, but I like them anyways. And so I thought, there would be more fun traveling. There'd be more fun things doing stuff, even if it is part-time, because I've always taken my business with me, go to the beach for 2 or 3 weeks. But when you do everything by yourself and you're taking care of somebody else and carrying everything, doing everything, managing it, it increases a lot. But that's why respite care is huge. That's why caregivers there talk about, you have to have that respite care. You have to have that time when you go on vacation. And I did spend a week at the beach with my
Oh,
girlfriend a couple of months ago, but I had to make all the arrangements and everything. I knew that my husband would do better here instead of being put into a facility. But when I had my surgery, he did go to a facility because I had to stay home and recover and heal.
right.
I just, so did I answer your question? Was any surprises? Every day's a surprise.
Mhm.
Every day's something different and new. Um,
I
I,
like the concept of respite care. I think I'm just
Mhm.
very naive on this topic, but the fact that you make arrangements so you can have a break, you can go on vacation and maybe go to the movies and go to lunch, and I think it's so important.
It
Mhm.
is. It is. It's for your sanity.
Mhm.
And girls need to have other girls, and we need to have that fellowship. We need to have that time. Just, when I go, I'm not talking about him. We're going to talk about, I'll go. And I remember one day it was a surprise, and I was talking to somebody. I said, so tell me what's going on in your life. What challenges are you going through? Because I wanted to hear about somebody else instead of focusing on things that were going on in
Yeah.
my life. And I'm sitting there going,
Yeah.
this is a joy to be talking about you and your problems.
Yes. You also mentioned that you sometimes do things for other people. Do you feel burned out with the caregiving so that you don't have the capacity to care for others?
I still do deeds of kindness when I can.
Okay.
I think texting people, staying in touch with your community, those types of things are little touches. Um, but also, birthdays, celebrations. I mean, since I'm the only one that could decorate this year, and I learned don't put anything on banisters, because especially with falls and
Oh,
stuff like that. So I have given a lot of my decorations away, but everything I put out, I'm going, okay, anything you put out, you're taking down. So do you
Yeah.
put it out? And so you switch and you change. But going back to doing things kind, I'm never going to stop doing that. I don't care how small it is, because I think it makes other people feel very loved and important and cherished. And I want my relationships to stay in that loving kind remembrance.
Mhm.
You're very inspirational. That's all I
You're
can say.
so inspirational. Like, I just wanna be so like, you just seem so happy. Like, do you wake up happy?
I do. I do.
I
I
love
I do. I wake up and I usually have a song on my heart, or, and I wake up and I'm very thankful. And I wake up and I start praying for anybody and everybody in my family and relationships and whatever. Um, because I think the more that we focus on other people, the better we're going to be, anyways. Um, and I'll wake up and go, "Yay, I'm back. What do we get to do?"
yeah.
Yeah.
So positive. I mean, it's just amazing to me.
I
Real
know,
quick.
but you don't get to see some of the times too, because we all go through them. We all go through them. I'm going,
Yeah.
there's times when I just, I have to be human, but I
Mhm.
want to bounce back. And somebody, had said that when caregivers are around people they're caring for, sometimes they become like that person. And I went, oh no, oh no,
Oh,
I don't want to become like that. And so that it's a choice. I'm gonna, I put music on. I keep music going on in the house all day long. Christmas music or whatever it is, or just fun upbeat music. So I'm a fighter. I really
yeah,
am.
you are.
Mhm.
Mm,
True.
yeah.
True. Very true.
Well,
Well,
go ahead. That's what I wrote down. Those were my things I wrote down to ask you. So,
Mm.
I mean, I'm just like, I wrote down the main things like self-care, spirituality, gratitude, taking time for yourself. Those
Mhm.
mhm.
those are the concepts that stood out to me about what you're saying in terms of if you're the main caregiver, you have to make that investment in yourself.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I don't know if you can be a good caregiver.
You can't. You'll be burned out, and just um, and when people get burned out and you just have nothing else to give, you've got to stop and regroup. And sometimes you're going to have to ask for help or find somebody that's going to go, don't get to that's what I want. I don't want to get to that place. That's why I think every single day, I want to do the things that I know that are good for me, because I don't want to get to that point to where you're obviously, it's like when you lose money, you have to make twice the amount of money to get back to where you were. So
Mhm.
it's the same in your health. You don't
Mhm.
want to lose, and then have to work twice as hard to be able to get back to. Maintaining is effort, and it is something that you have to invest in. You've used the word perfectly. We're investing in our self-care.
Mhm. What if I know somebody who is facing this same situation as you in terms of they're a caregiver or an adjunct caregiver and they're dealing with the negatives and the emotions in a more negative way? Is there something I can do as a bystander?
You can always connect them to me.
Mm,
I don't mind. I love talking with people and finding out and encouraging them ways, again, to manage stress, because stress is associated with the 6 top killers in this country, and you either manage it or it manages you. And
Mhm.
there's also ways that you can combat the effects of stress internally. And so when you're using adaptogens, when you're using different things like that. So, um, but just encouraging that person to reach out to somebody, to find somebody. And again, am always open to talk to people, to just be able to find out and celebrate the good things that they're doing, because we don't celebrate the things that people are doing well. We always see the negative. It's just like if you vacuumed your great room and you walked in and you saw a piece of paper in the middle of the room. Did you just see all that vacuumed carpet? Your eyes go right to that piece of paper. The
mhm.
negative
Right.
always pops out, and it takes 7 positives to overcome every one negative we either speak to ourselves or we hear. And believe me, there's a lot of it going around. So you have to find those ways that work again, we talked about combating.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I just want to thank you for all your time. You're a wealth of information and really knowledgeable, particularly about the caregiver piece because you're living it. So it's real. It's not just something in theory. You're actually living it. So I appreciate you coming and talking to
I
us.
can't wait to check out your show. It's on the Win-Win Women Network, right?
Win-Win Women TV. Oh,
Win-Win Women
y'all
TV.
are going to be on my show. There's my Southern accent. Y'all are going to be on my show too sometime.
Okay, we
We're ready.
love to. Yes,
Women
absolutely.
supporting women. Yep.
That would be wonderful.
Mhm.
So thank you again. You're so positive, and you're motivating me to wake up tomorrow positive.
You wake up, put your feet on the ground, and go, yeah.
Yay! I can do it. I'll be happier
Thank
if it's a snow day Thursday, but that's another thing.
Oh, I want some snow. Oh,
No, you don't.
I do. I love making snow angels.
Well, thanks again, Nancy. You've been a delight, absolute delight.
Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you.
Mhm.